My name is Rich McAdock, and I'm the creator of the Splitting the Spoils class exercise. If you're watching this video, it's probably because your instructor is planning to use this class exercise in a course on entrepreneurship or on venture capital or on negotiations or on some other related topic. Welcome. The purpose of this video is to explain the exercise so that you will understand what you're doing before you start. If you're like me, then you probably spend way too many hours watching Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, the shows where entrepreneurs pitch their businesses to a panel of professional investors in the hope of negotiating an equity deal in front of a television audience of millions of viewers. When those investors on that panel say, "I'll give you $500,000 for 25% of your company," what are they actually buying? I bet that most viewers would probably assume that they are buying shares of common stock, but that is not correct. Professional investors like venture capitalists and angel investors almost never buy common stock. Why not? That's the puzzle that this class exercise will help you solve. That's the question that this exercise will answer. So pause this video right now and take a minute or two to write down your best guess about the answer to this question. Why don't venture capitalists and angel investors buy common stock in startups? When you have finished writing your answer, come back and play the rest of this video to learn how to use the exercise. Seriously, pause the video right now and write your answer. I'll wait for you. Are you finished already? Did you write your answer? Really? Show it to me. Okay, I see it. That's a pretty good guess, actually. Now let's continue with explaining the exercise. Next, I will show you two documents that your instructor has probably already given to you: the instruction packet and the payoff spreadsheet. If you don't have these two documents, then just look in the video description below to find the web link where you can download them. In case you're having trouble finding the link in the video description, that link is also right here above my head. Let's look first at the instruction packet. In this exercise, you will be randomly assigned to play one of two possible roles, either a startup founder or an angel investor. As you can see here, the instruction packet begins with a general description of the class exercise. And then it provides information on each of the two possible roles that you might be playing. Here is the information for the founder role. And then here on the next page is the information about the investor role. Since you do not know which role you'll be playing, please take time to read both role descriptions carefully before the exercise starts. The next section in the instruction packet explains the payoff spreadsheet file, which I will show you in a few minutes. Again, please read this section carefully before the exercise starts because it contains a lot of important information about how that spreadsheet works. In this exercise, you will negotiate over how the total value of the startup venture will be divided between the founder and the investor. What percentage of the total company value does the investor get, and what percentage does the founder keep? And how do the answers to that question depend upon the eventual value of the company? Do the percentages differ according to how much the company is worth? That's what you will negotiate over. Now, if the founder were selling common stock to the investor, then the answer would be simple, because with common stock, the percentages would not depend upon the total value of the company. Let's say that you're an investor who bought 10% of the common stock of a company. If the value of that company eventually turns out to be $1 million, then your 10% of the common stock would be worth $100,000. If the value of the company eventually turns out to be $100 million, then your 10% stake of the common stock would be worth $10 million. If the value of the company eventually turns out to be $1 billion, then your 10% stake of the common stock would be worth $100 million. So with common stock, the value of your stake is always the same percentage of the total value of the company, regardless of what that total value is. However, in this negotiation exercise, you will have the ability, if you wish, to adjust the percentages so that they can depend upon the total value of the company. If you wish, you can negotiate to split the value into different percentages when the total value of the company is different. To see how this will work, let's switch over to looking at the payoff spreadsheet file now. In this spreadsheet, let's start with the first column, column A, which is shown here in green. This column shows the three possible scenarios about the value of the company after 10 years. For the sake of simplicity, we are assuming that there are only three possible scenarios. A worst case scenario in which the company's value after 10 years is only $1 million. A middle case scenario where the company is worth a valuation of $10 million after 10 years. And a best case scenario where the company's value is worth $100 million after 10 years. Your task in this exercise is to negotiate what percentage of this total company value from column A will be kept by the founder and what percentage will go to the investor under each of these three possible scenarios about the value of the company. So we basically just need three percentages. The percentage of the company value that will go to the investor if the company's value after 10 years is $1 million. The percentage of the company's value that will go to the investor if the company's value after 10 years is $10 million. And the percentage of the company's value that will go to the investor if the company's value after 10 years is $100 million. What do we do with those three percentages? Well, basically, we just enter them here in column J in these three yellow cells. All of that sounds pretty simple, but there is another important aspect of this exercise, and that is this. The founder has a choice about how much effort to exert on the startup. By exerting extra effort, the founder can influence the probability that each of these three scenarios will occur. For example, if the founder exerts full effort rather than partial effort, then the probability that the best case scenario happens, that $100 million scenario, that probability goes up by 5% if the founder is exerting full effort. And the probability that the worst case scenario would happen would correspondingly go down by 5%. So as an investor, you have to think about how do you motivate the founder to exert full effort. In order to help you think about that question, we have this part of the spreadsheet here in the lower left corner. This part of the spreadsheet calculates the expected payoffs to both the investor and the founder under both possible choices for the founder's effort level, whether the founder is exerting full effort or just partial effort. And it also shows the founder's effort premium. That is, how much additional expected payoff does the founder get if the founder exerts full effort rather than partial effort. And that number is shown here in this pink cell. That's the founder's effort premium. The last thing that I want to point out about this spreadsheet file is that it actually contains two sheets, which you can access using the two tabs here at the bottom of the window. As you can see, one tab says division by percentage, and the other tab says division by dollar value. So these two sheets differ according to what you are going to be negotiating over. If you will be negotiating over the percentage of the company's value that will be paid to the investor after 10 years, then you would simply use this first sheet as shown here. On the other hand, if you will be negotiating over the total dollar value that will be paid to the investor after 10 years, then you would click on this second tab and use the second sheet instead. Notice here on the second sheet, those three yellow cells where you enter your numbers are no longer over here in the percentage column. Instead, they have been moved over here to column L, which has to do with the total dollar payoff to the investor, not the percentage paid to the investor. You can get to the same results either way. Your instructor may assign you to use one of these two spreadsheets in particular, or your instructor may leave it up to you to decide. In either case, your task as a negotiating pair is simply to fill in the 3 yellow cells, either the 3 yellow cells about the percentages here on the first sheet, or the 3 yellow cells about the total dollar value here on the second sheet. You're just negotiating over 3 numbers, either the 3 percentages or the $3 values. Just one number for each of the 3 possible scenarios. So I encourage you to spend some time playing around with the spreadsheet for a while before the class exercise starts, so that you will be familiar with how the spreadsheet works and comfortable with using it by the time the negotiation begins. For example, try playing around with entering different numbers in the yellow cells to see what happens and to observe how those numbers affect the expected payoffs shown here in the bottom left corner of the spreadsheet. If you're a student, then that's the end of this video for you, because that's all the instructions that I have for students. So if you're a student, goodbye, and I hope that you learned something from doing this exercise and that you enjoy it and that you have fun with it. Thanks for watching. Now, the rest of this video is for instructors. Instructors, you can use this class exercise for free. There is no charge to you and no charge to your students at all. I'm licensing it to you under the standard Creative Commons open source license. Feel free to use it as much as you want. Feel free to distribute it as much as you want. Feel free to modify it and adapt it as much as you want. However, when you distribute, modify, or adapt it, please do remember to follow the attribution requirements in the Creative Commons license. I use this class exercise in my entrepreneurship course, but it could also be used in a venture capital course or in any finance course that covers different types of equity securities. This exercise can work in the classroom by assigning students to work in pairs, with one member of each pair taking on the founder role and the other taking the investor role. If you happen to have an odd number of students in the class, then you can simply turn one of the pairs into a trio by assigning 2 students to be co-founders. This exercise can also work in online teaching, as long as you have the capability to put each pair of students into a separate virtual breakout room. But that's a standard feature of Zoom and many other video conferencing platforms. Now, in addition to the 2 documents for the students that I described earlier in this video, I also offer 2 documents for instructors. The first one is a teaching note, and the second one is a set of slides to use in debriefing the exercise with your class. To receive these 2 instructor documents, simply connect with me on LinkedIn at the web link shown here above my head and mention the class exercise in your connection request. Using this LinkedIn procedure will help to ensure that these instructor documents only go to legitimate instructors. I hope that you find this class exercise to be a useful addition to your course. Thanks for watching.